Good morning, good afternoon, and for those of you across the pond, good evening and welcome to a Hubinar from Nonprofit Hub. I am the executive editor, Randy Hawthorne, and I have with me today, Maureen. We've been having a wonderful conversation about weather because we're landlocked here in Nebraska, but we are having what I would call like perfect quote unquote fall days. We've got a summer coming. I see the extended forecast, but Maureen has the advantage of living in Cape Cod.
Yay. And here I am with a beach 20 minutes to the left and a beach 20 minutes to the right. But boy, I'm actually more excited about doing this with you today than hitting the beach this afternoon.
Well, I am excited to be listening as well to this because as we are continuing to try to navigate fundraising and donor relations, I think this is going to be a great program. So I'm going to step out of your way and let you get going.
All right, excellent. Randy, everybody can see my screen, yeah?
Yeah, we're looking good.
Okay, cool. All right, here we are. The magic of appreciation in peer-to-peer fundraising. And so, what this really is about is how do we as fundraisers, development staff, event folks, try to build relationships with the folks who are doing peer-to-peer fundraising for us in a variety of ways. So let's dig in because we got a lot to cover today. Let me forward, trying a forward, nonprofit accidental techie. What this is doing, Randy, right now is actually, oh, there we go. Hey, we did it. All right, so this is me. In case you don't know, I have worked inside and alongside nonprofit organizations for way over 15 years. As Randy pointed out, I live in Massachusetts out on the Cape. And my whole reason for being, my passion, is to help nonprofits, particularly growing nonprofits, deal with their technology, deal with the systems, the data, the platforms, the software, and have it make sense. Have all of those pieces and parts work together as a tool, not be a beast that you and your team need to feed all day long. And you do not need to be formally trained to figure this stuff out, make good decisions, and actually leverage your tech in a way that helps you get a good return on your investment. Here's what we're going to talk about for the next little bit. 4 topics, and one of them is a big chunky time for open Q&A. So looking forward to answering your questions or hearing what's on your mind when it comes to peer-to-peer fundraiser stewardship, because it is challenging. It's not anything that maybe everybody's got figured out. So we're going to spend some time on that. We're going to go deep on appreciation, what that really means, how you can use systems and platforms to make your peer-to-peer fundraisers feel like you are paying attention to them. Hence, they will raise more money for you, or they will do more campaigns for you. We'll spend a little bit of time on tools and tactics, and then we'll hit that lovely open Q&A period. So yeah, this is how I feel when I think about how do I take these disconnected folks who aren't really donors, but they are so important to us raising support, spreading the word, and actually finding people who will give so that we can meet our missions. Let's start though with a little bit of macro, which is what is stewardship to begin with, just to make sure that we're all on the same page here. Stewardship is really, like the dictionary definition, is overseeing and protecting something that you want to care about and preserve. So we want to preserve the relationships with our peer-to-peer donors, all supporters really, from email subscribers all the way up to volunteers and major donors, but it happens over time. Like any other stewardship, if you've got a major donor prospect and you're trying to bring them closer, trying to get them ready for the ask, trying to gauge what that ask should be and when you should make it, it's all about building a relationship, conversations, engagement, back and forth. Traditionally, the stewardship that we do is focused on donors after a gift has been received, or major donors once we've identified them and we're trying to pull them in closer to support our organization in large ways. Stewardship also happens after someone has given, big or little, sustainer or one time, and demonstrates that we appreciate what they've done, we're using their support wisely, and confirming that they've actually made an impact. The goal of donor stewardship, all of us probably know, is to get the supporter to give money again. That's really what it's all about. As I said, one-time sustainer, keep that up, keep that support flowing. But peer-to-peer fundraiser stewardship is just different enough that it can feel a little weird and clunky to try to know what we're trying to get them to do again. And it's different than the donor. The donor, give again. The peer-to-peer fundraiser, we want them to raise money again for us. Possibly, we want to convert them to become a subscriber and learn more about what we do and perhaps get more involved. But it's not necessarily to get them to become a donor. It's definitely for them to stay raising money for you on whatever platform, tool, or online space you've got available for them. This is an image that comes from Blackbaud. I really like it. A, it doesn't have any product names on it, but B, it sort of shows the trajectory of where peer-to-peer fundraising has changed over time. When I first started doing fundraising work online, most particularly with nonprofits, it was really like bike-a-thon, dog walker-a-thon, or walk for Komen, or Relay for Life, Make-A-Wish, any of those really big legacy giant events that folks showed up in a physical space and did together. Maybe it was in different cities around the country, maybe it was just where your organization was located, but you guys ran it. You set up the event, you found participants, you managed race day or bike day or whatever it was. Then endurance fundraising started coming up, these elite physical events like the Marine Corps Marathon, where you didn't manage the event, you probably didn't even manage the tool that your participants were using to raise money, but you were involved in getting a bib, let's say, for someone to participate in the Marine Corps Marathon, New York City Marathon, Boston Marathon out by me. Then we started to mix it up a little bit with those giving days and virtual events. Then we expanded it even more over to the right side to be more individual driven, less control inside the organization, which could be a good thing or a bad thing, depending on where you sit. Live streaming has been around for 3 or 4 years now. I know for many of us, it still feels fairly new, not so new in the general life cycle of how online stuff rolls out and gets adopted, and then charitable crowdfunding all the way over on the right-hand side. Virtual peer-to-peer is where we're all at. I don't think anybody in this webinar or watching the recording later is doing anything IRL in real life. So we're really going to sit in this virtual fundraising space. This is what it really is all about. It's a great way to get people to support your cause where they're at, when they want to. Birthday fundraiser. Don't buy me a birthday gift, actually make a donation to an organization that I support. It's also a chance to leverage your existing community, whether it's on Facebook or in your donor pool or your email subscriber list. You're putting, I know, a lot of time and brain power and effort into growing your list, growing your supporter communities. It's going to let you raise small funds for specific asks that your peer-to-peer fundraiser is making among their friends and network. And it can help you find and cultivate new relationships. If you've got a new peer-to-peer donor, let's say I'm doing a birthday fundraiser on Facebook. Randy's a Facebook friend of mine, and I say, hey everybody, I'm raising money for organization X. Randy makes a gift. And that donor information will flow into you eventually, depending on what platform you're using. And then you look at the peer-to-peer donors that have come in, and you do a wealth screening on Randy. And you say, hey, Randy actually is giving to other organizations just like us. Maybe I want to start to build a relationship with him. Not always, but sometimes. So this is what it is. There's also important things that virtual peer-to-peer fundraising is really bad at. It's not a great way to really acquire a lot of new donors that you can contact in the future. Your peer-to-peer fundraisers are the direct connection to you. The donors are at least 1 degree removed, sometimes many degrees, depending on how, if I ask Randy and Randy gives and then Randy shares it, and then a friend of Randy's that I don't even know actually gives, you can see how the path away from being close to your mission can sort of really take miles between you and the actual donor. You're not going to get monthly donors out of this group generally. If you have, I want to hear about it. And it's definitely not a good method of growing your email list. So these are the, if you're betting the farm on these 3 things, virtual peer-to-peer fundraising is not the best or easiest way for you to do that. Why do we bother? Well, first of all, we can't have in real life events right now. So everybody's pivoting over to virtual. But here are some benchmarks from Facebook, a giant gorilla of peer-to-peer fundraising platforms that are free. This is actually data from March, so I imagine that what Facebook has raised for nonprofits is far above $3 billion right now, but that's where we were at in spring of 2020. Facebook fundraisers raise twice as much as other fundraising platforms bring in, because people are on Facebook, especially with the pandemic, especially with the election, especially with the racial justice uprising that our country is experiencing and responding to right now. Lots of folks are on Facebook because that's where they get news about what's going on in their town, their community, COVID rates, etc. Conversion on Facebook is 13 times higher than your beautiful donation form on your website. And that is because more people, if your fundraisers are messaging properly on your behalf, more people will see it than see your website. And because people, regardless of where you sit on Facebook is good, Facebook is evil, 88% of donors are perfectly comfortable doing it. It's somewhere they're already at, and they say they're likely to give through Facebook again in the future. You gotta meet people where they are. And for better or worse, right now, Facebook is where a lot of people are, and you don't get hit with processing or transaction fees. So if Randy gives $50 to my Facebook birthday fundraiser, you get all $50. And that is not true with most other peer-to-peer platforms. Going virtual with your peer-to-peer stuff is a little tricky because, again, you're giving up some control. So if you're having a giving day, right, like you're a university or an organization where there is a day every year that is your day, giving days happen on campus for colleges. They also happen virtually. So sometimes you can control, like our giving day is November 1st. And we're going to gear everybody up to actually give as much as possible and raise as much as possible for us on that day. Or you run a virtual challenge. These are really hot right now on Facebook. We've got a week where we're challenging ourselves and our supporters to raise as much money as possible in this 7-day period. You got some control there. But the peer-to-peer fundraisers who are not in your control at all, just doing their own thing as it strikes them, maybe they're starting a birthday fundraiser on Facebook. Maybe you've got a portfolio of peer-to-peer event types that someone might be able to choose from in honor, in tribute, in celebration, in memory, a virtual 5K. I worked with a client, a Multiple Sclerosis Association of America, MSAA. They have a pool party every year. And it starts in January and they close it up at the end of the year, and it's any pool, anytime. So if I was part of a swim team or belonged to a Y or have a pool in my backyard, and I want to say I'm going to swim 20 miles this summer for MSAA, I could start that whenever I wanted to, and I could stop it whenever I wanted to. So that control thing, a little tricky for us to get used to. That control thing extends to your platform because it really does have a giant impact on what you can and can't do. If you own the platform, like you're using one of many peer-to-peer platforms, and I'm unbiased, so I don't care what people use as long as it works for them. So if you're using Classy, if you're using Click and Pledge, if you're using TeamRaiser, if you're using Rallybound, Mobile, One Cause, I could go on. You control what you offer to people, the registration and sign up process. You can collect contact info, goes right into your database. You can control the period that someone fundraises. You can get all that juicy data that we love to get about the fundraisers and the donors. But on that right-hand column, if you don't own the platform, if it's GoFundMe, if it's some crowdfunding platform, if it is Facebook, or now Instagram is going to let people do fundraising on it. I'm waiting for TikTok to show up with that. You don't have any control. Full stop. You don't have any control when somebody does it or why. You can't customize a sign-up process. You can't really collect information from them. You can't control when they start and stop it. If it's a birthday fundraiser, that's 2 weeks, and Facebook decides that. As we know, very limited data about fundraisers and donors. And I hear this all the time, right? There's no easy way for me to capture this stuff. It's a big waste of time for me to grow the program. To which I say, let's look at the glass half full, if we can. There's stuff you can get, even if you have no control over the platform, that's going to help you steward, build close relationships with these fundraisers. Let's think about the beginning. 5Ks, marathons, what have you. The donor was never the point. We focused around the events, the teams, the participants. Stewardship was mostly aimed at team captains, because if you could get the team captain working with their team to help them raise a lot of money and meet their fundraising goals, you were golden. So we focused on the captains, usually not so much on the individual participant that made up the team. And frankly, it's always been a challenge to convert peer-to-peer donors into true donors. I've got a video on my Facebook page that goes into like how you can do that if you want to, but it's usually a small return on your investment of time and brain power, which means we have to shift our brain just a little bit. We got to manage it in a completely different way, these virtual peer-to-peer programs, from other fundraising programs. And that's hard because we do things a certain way. We know that things work. We're not always as innovative or agile as we need to be. I bet all of you have grown a lot of agility muscle in the past 5 months. So questions to ask your fundraising team or your tech team or your leadership team: how can we move ahead on virtual peer-to-peer fundraising with an experimental frame? Who's going to own it? Is it, if it's Facebook, is it our social media person? Is it our fundraising person? Is it our database administrator? Who's owning it? What data can we get and how are we going to use it? And philosophically, is it better for us to try to convert the fundraiser into a joiner on our email list and we can then make appeals to them? Or for you, and it's going to be different for everyone, is it better to help them do more fundraising for you? Right, so that's stewardship of our participants. Virtual world, not meeting them on event day. We're going to spend some time now on micro appreciation, and it is indeed so beautiful. One thing that we're not always great at in fundraising scenes is effusively thanking participants and donors. And I'm using the word effusively on purpose. If you look at autoresponders that you might send out or that you might receive when you make a donation, they're usually pretty boring. They're usually, dear Randy, thanks for your 50 bucks. We need it to do X, and we are looking forward to more support from you in the future. Tax receipt. I'm not saying everybody does that, but lots of us do. It's kind of a very offhand thank you. Virtual peer-to-peer fundraisers need something different. And it's micro, it's small, tiny things. And here's all you have to do, 3 things. When you're thinking about stewarding your peer-to-peer fundraisers, you got to show recognition and gratitude when someone starts a fundraiser. And if you control the platform, you should know that. And if it's on Facebook or somewhere you don't control, you should be checking for that or setting up notifications so you know when someone starts a birthday fundraiser. Check in with them sometime while their campaign is running. How's it going? Thank you again when their fundraiser is over. We all are tracked every day online, and we expect that the nonprofits are paying attention to what we're doing and are going to be thanking us, and they're sort of riding along with us a little bit. Micro appreciation is not just small, it's super personal. So it needs to feel like a one-to-one effort. It could be your organization thanking Randy when he starts a fundraiser for you. It could be a person on your team who thanks people. Sometimes there is a virtual peer-to-peer ambassador. They have 7 other jobs too, but they're the ambassador, and it's their job to monitor what's going on in the peer-to-peer spaces that your supporters are participating in, and recognize and thank people when they start. Technology, though, although it can be clunky and maybe we're a little in over our heads sometimes, technology does make it much easier for you to provide honest, genuine touches, and I'm going to talk deeply about that in a little bit. And you can use multiple channels to do that micro appreciation using the data you do have. No gnashing of your teeth or shaking of your fist about stuff you're used to getting that you won't get with virtual peer-to-peer fundraising. You need to make a plan. You need to make a plan, even if it's on a Post-it note. You need to make a plan. And ask yourselves these 4 questions. What does success look like for us in a year if we're doing this right? What's happening? Do we have more email subscribers? Have we raised more peer-to-peer money? Do we feel like we never have to have a physical event again if that's what we've done for years? So define and agree on some success metrics. What's that vision in a year if we really toss some time and brain power at this? How are we going to know that we're accomplishing our goals using these communication channels that we have? Email, digital content, and social media. What 3 quantitative metrics can we create to measure these efforts? These are numbers, right? This is data. We've got 10% higher fundraiser totals raised. We've got double our totals raised. We have 75 more fundraisers than we did last year. Whatever numbers you think you can easily grab that will tell you, is this gas that we're putting in the tank of the peer-to-peer fundraising bus getting us somewhere or not? And then qualitative, which are not numbers, they're subjective. So you can see that perhaps more people are following you on social media now. You have more Facebook followers because you've invested some time and brain power into Facebook fundraising. Or you have more stories. Maybe one of the things you do after or during someone's fundraising period is you ask them why. Send them a little survey. Why is our organization important to you? Why are you raising money for us? We always need stories. Imagine the stories that you could get here. So make even like a 6-month plan, little bitty baby plan that you can walk along and measure for a few months. Let's talk about data now, because this is the bane of our existence sometimes. If you do have the fundraisers data, you can send them a special email welcoming them to your peer-to-peer program. Acknowledge why they're fundraising for you. Sometimes you can toss in a little personalized content. Cat person, dog person. Cat person starts a peer-to-peer fundraiser for you. They should see a picture of a cat if you know that that's their bag. You can offer them tips and tools to help them meet their goal, and I'll show some examples of that today. You can learn more about them. I just previewed this by sending a quick 3-question survey. 3 questions, easy, fast. Evaluate their relationship with your organization. You can see, have they done this before? Are they also a donor? Do they attend events? How else are they involved with you? And you can also, like, take it up a notch, segment your peer-to-peer only fundraisers and send a special e-newsletter, maybe like twice a year, encouraging them to do it again. And then especially for birthday fundraisers, you know when their birthday is now because Facebook collects that, or maybe you collect it if you're using your own tool. But please remind them to start another fundraiser for you next year. Don't expect them to just do it again. You want to say, hey, Randy, last August you raised $500 for us. It's July. We're hoping we can see you start a new fundraiser in August of 2020. If you don't have the data, Facebook, you can send them a personal note, a direct message or private message on Facebook or the social media channel. Welcome them. And you can automate that stuff. A human doesn't necessarily have to do it. Offer those tips and tools. You can totally do that whether you have the data or not. You can cheer them on with a couple more personal notes during their campaign. Offer to send them a token of appreciation in the mail. This blew my mind. I just read a case study recently about an organization based in the US, not huge, that had a really thriving Facebook birthday fundraiser program. And so they didn't have the contact information for all these peer-to-peer fundraisers, right? Because they were living in Facebook world, not crossing out into email lists or other ways of communication. So this organization decided that at the end of a birthday fundraiser, they were going to send a note to, let's say, Randy, to say, hey, Randy, we so appreciate your birthday fundraising efforts for us. Thank you so much. We would like to send you a small token of appreciation in the mail. If you'd like that, please send us your contact information and mailing address. And I'm talking a sticker. I'm talking a button, a bumper sticker, a pen, some swag that's really inexpensive to mail or really inexpensive to create and mail. That got more than 80% of birthday fundraisers for this organization saying, oh yeah, I want to give you my contact information. Boom, get a sticker, everybody's happy. We're not talking about a t-shirt or a hat. Maybe you start a new social media group just for your peer-to-peer fundraisers. And again, you can remind those folks to start another fundraiser for you next year. But you got to test. So there's a lot of people on this webinar today. I'm sure a lot of you folks will watch it afterwards. You have to test your tactics. So I can't sit here and say, everybody's got to do these 5 things, because it might work really well for 50% of you. It might be a dog for 50% of you. So you always have to test a little bit. And it takes that experimental, let's see what happens mindset. Let's see what happens if we offer to send somebody a thank you gift. Let's see what happens if we set up a web page with tips for birthday fundraisers or peer-to-peer fundraisers. You might need to play the long game a little bit. This might not go viral really quickly. You might need to think about, as I said, that year from now, and you're going to measure. And this kind of peer-to-peer stuff, if your tone is typically kind of formal, scientific, or educationally based organizations, or you're super buttoned up and that's your organization's tone, loosen that tie, because this kind of peer-to-peer fundraising is the best time ever to be casual, light, and creative with your tactics. That's what your fundraisers are going to respond to. Tools and tips. Now we're going to get under the hood just a little bit, and I'm going to show you a bunch of examples that you can totally Use as a model. I won't say copy, but I'll say, oh, that might be a good idea. And it's stuff that's not hard to do and not expensive. Video. If your organization is like looking at video, it's on the list, we've got to start playing with it. It wins every single time. It's opened more, it's shared more, and video shows up in search results highly because of YouTube and Google. So if you can record a little thank you video that you send to peer-to-peer participants, fundraising participants, through a bunch of different apps, you will get opens, you will get birthday fundraisers or peer-to-peer fundraisers who are into it and they love it. They feel like they're noticed and appreciated. Micro appreciation. If you're using Constant Contact as your email marketing tool, you can make a video and send it out to them. It could be generic. Thank you for starting a fundraiser for us. Short and sweet. The one that Constant Contact screen grab that I've got here, a minute. Even that is long. These don't have to be polished. They don't have to be professional. Raw amateur video on a phone, flubs and all, works really, really, really well. Casual. ThankView is the screen grab that's below Constant Contact. That is a platform that is very inexpensive and it's used by all kinds of organizations. A lot of Giving Day orgs use ThankView and you can see what somebody gets, right? Like this cute little envelope, they click the envelope, the video comes out and plays. Like that's super cool. And you can think about using stuff like this far outside of just your peer-to-peer fundraising stewardship. BombBomb, I love this app. It is fast, it's easy, it's super cheap. You record a quick, like 30-second video on your phone, and you can send that in direct message on Facebook, or you can email it to people. And that is awesome. Hey, Kyle, press play. Who's not going to play that video? Who's not going to do that? So BombBomb's a great one. And then Gather Voices over on the right-hand side. This is a tool that was developed specifically for collecting stories from nonprofit staff, beneficiaries, and donors. And you can put these things on YouTube. You can direct message them. You can email them. You can put them on your website. YouTube, putting your thank you videos on YouTube are also great because, again, SEO and search results will favor you if you've got videos as part of your content mix. If you have their address, email them throughout the fundraising period, usually about 2 to 3 weeks. That's really the time frame from the time somebody starts a peer-to-peer fundraiser to the time they stop asking people for money. Your mileage may vary. So if you've got peer-to-peer fundraisers that hang in there for a full month or 6 weeks, spread out your contacts to them. But most of the time it's about 2 to 3 weeks for virtual. Here's some examples from Classy. The nonprofit is Thought Project. Here's an email that goes to somebody once they've hit 50% of their fundraising goal. And it goes out automatically. This is pre-created. And when Matt, this example here, when Matt hits 50%, when he hits $250 of his $500 goal, this message automatically goes out with a button encouraging them to post an update on their fundraising page. When there's only a week left in the fundraising period, it's a little like, hey, no matter whether you're ahead or behind Matt, we've only got a week left. So we're close, especially if it's a giving day or a challenge. One more push, please post an update. And then the one on the right-hand side is a thank you. You've reached your goal. Again, you've been doing so well. Why not increase your fundraising goal? You've hit 500. We've got a week left in the challenge. Why don't you make it 750? Let's see if you can do that. These are not complicated things to create. Use images in Canva or wherever you guys whip up your marketing materials, not hard. If you've got their phone number, their cell number, texting is big, and I think it's going to continue to get bigger. Texts, I want to say 85% of all text messages are opened within a minute of receipt. And that's probably true for me because you get that little notification, not sure who texted you, you click in on your phone and there you go to the message. There are products out there at all different price points. Some are very, very low cost that lets you send text messages when somebody registers. QGive, thanks for registering, recruit your team. They can register for $5 off. Mobile cause in the middle. Somebody texts the word mission to 51558 and they get the autoresponder. Apply to be a Hand of Hope medical or dental volunteer today. You certainly could swap that content out to be a call to sign up to be a peer-to-peer fundraiser or a Giving Day challenge person. Give Lively also lets you text to give. If you're not collecting your supporters' cell phone numbers, that might be something you want to start because they're open more frequently. The technology has evolved to a point where we can send some really sophisticated stuff out to a bunch of people at once. Social media. Let's pretend it's Facebook birthday fundraising, no control, no data, but you get some notifications that someone has started a fundraiser. Left to right, let's look at these products. GivePanel. I love GivePanel. I love the guys who own GivePanel. Again, I'm not biased, but these guys are really smart. They have figured out a way to create something that plugs into a nonprofit's Facebook account and pulls out all the data, all the transactions, and any data that's available to you shows up in GivePanel. And you can even create little stewardship automatic messaging campaigns that GivePanel will push out for you on your behalf at certain times when someone has started a fundraiser till when they're done. So automation is the way to go, and you can get a bunch of data without digging for it with GivePanel. ManyChat is a social media bot, actually. So you can set this up to work with Facebook. Randy starts a birthday fundraiser. Nobody has to do anything, but ManyChat will automatically send that welcome message, maybe with a link to images or resources or suggested posts that a human doesn't need to do. So let's use the bots the way that they're meant to be used, which is to look like it's personal touches when it's really not. Kenji is another one of these bots, and it works on multiple social media platforms. Again, all of these are really modest investments. And if you've got somebody who wants to play around with these, you can sign up for a trial and goof around with them a little bit and see if you think they're going to work for you. So social media communication tools works whether you've got their contact information or not. Now let's look at some effective social media posts here. Left to right, Human Resource Alliance. This is a message that comes out automatically, or a human does it. I'm not sure the mechanism, but my friend Mark Rovner, great fundraising guru, started 2 years ago a birthday fundraiser for Humane Rescue Alliance. And here's a message that showed up on his timeline from the organization. You guys can do that, use little emojis. Directly underneath that is Be the Match. Be the Match has a huge virtual peer-to-peer fundraising portfolio, buffet of different event types and participation types. You should pop over to Team Be the Match if you want to see some great examples. They've got this automatic message that goes out to every Facebook birthday fundraiser as soon as they start it. Hey, Amy, everybody who needs a life-saving blood stem cell transplant should get one. Here's how your fundraiser is helping. Here's a link to go to. Get started so we can make sure your fundraising is a success. That is micro appreciation. That is Facebook birthday fundraiser stewardship in action. And you can do this no matter what platform it's happening on. In the middle, I love this. It's a birthday message from Breast Cancer Care going to a birthday fundraiser named Paulette. Thanks so much for choosing to set up a fundraiser. Your donations are going to make this impact. We appreciate you. Wish you the best of luck from Helena, a human person. That's that personal micro appreciation I mentioned earlier. This is an image, I know they created it on Canva, right? You could do this and then just send those messages out. It's just the leap of planning and making it happen and being cool with the kind of data that you've got to play with, because it is different. Then way over on the right-hand side is a thank you note. Siobhan set up something for Ireland's Children's Hospice. Laura Lynn, who is a person who works for that organization, is an admin, sent this note when someone exceeded their fundraising target. And here's where you can see that request for contact information. We would really love to send you a thank you card for all your support and to keep in touch from time to time with our news, campaigns, and events. If you'd like to hear from us, submit your contact details. Many thanks from a person. And then again, probably a Canva image with Laura Lynn's actual name as the signer at the bottom of that. You're helping us make the most of short and precious lives. From Laura Lynn, XOXO, kisses and hugs. You guys can do this. I know you can. Large org, small org, new org, established org, lots of hands, couple hands. Just take some focus and prioritization and planning. This is a client of mine that I worked with last year. VH1 Save the Music Foundation has a massive birthday fundraising through Facebook program. And they, although they're VH1 Save the Music, their office is in New York City, there's a team of less than 8 people managing all their fundraising. So you don't have to have a squad of 20 or more to do this. The top left-hand screen grab there is their homepage. And you can see they give equal time, nay, they prioritize birthday fundraising for their audience, their web visitors. You know that upper right-hand corner is the sweet spot for your donate button. The donate button is actually not in the sweet spot. It's next to it. The fundraise button is in the sweet spot. That's what they really want people to do, because that's where our eye pauses when we're looking on screen. We roll left to right, stop. And so I might donate, I might fundraise, I might do both. Fundraising is in that little donation button spot that we've gotten used to seeing. The middle screen grab is when I click that fundraise button, I get taken to a web page that's specifically set up to make it seem simple and easy for someone to raise money on Facebook. They also have a little, if you don't have Facebook, you can use GoFundMe. So click over here to go to GoFundMe if Facebook is not a place that you hang out. Step 1, set up your fundraiser. It's super easy. Step 2, customize it. And they've got a button there under step 2 that takes their fundraisers to another page with fundraising tools with tons of images and ideas and sample posts. They don't want to make any barrier between the potential fundraiser and actually fundraising. And that is also stewardship. It's also appreciation, because it's support for these folks, making it easy. You can see at the bottom of the page, that little right-hand screen grab I've got, neat ideas. They've got some more examples in case I don't click the fundraiser tool button. If I have questions though, I hit that contact us button, I fill out a form, and a staff person monitors that and gets back to people within, 12 business hours, let's say. When I click set up my fundraiser, I get taken to Facebook with Save the Music Foundation already selected. So again, you make it easy. I don't have to think as the prospective fundraiser. And whenever you're asking anybody to do anything online for you, from visiting your website, signing up for email, registering for an event, or becoming a peer-to-peer virtual fundraiser, don't make them think. Because if you make them think, they're going to hesitate and they're going to go, I don't have the answer to this question I just asked myself. I'll come back later when I have time. And 9 times out of 10, they will not. So grab them and make it easy for them when they're there. before we get to Q&A, this is the last sort of accidental techie pep talk I've got for you, which is don't be afraid of trying this. I talk to people all the time who say, if we start this and we do it really, really well, we're never going to be able to keep up with the demand. We're going to drown. We're going to be crushed by too many fundraisers to thank. Or we don't really know what we're doing and we might make a mistake. Or we see great promise in this virtual peer-to-peer fundraising stuff. I want to create a microsite with 75 options and videos and all kinds of sophisticated stuff. You can't see me, but I'm giving you the timeout signal here. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. If you get crushed by too many fundraisers, call me and I will help you figure out a way to automate some of that thank you stuff, or you'll be raising enough money to hire a person to do it. Concerned, you might not know what you're doing. Everybody is there. You know, we're starting to figure out the art and science of what works best, but Facebook changes their page layout and their program parameters all the time. So we have to be agile. If 2020 has taught us nothing, it's about I need to make a sharp left, a sharp right, or slow down or speed up. So don't sweat it. Pay attention to trends, monitor, and adjust. Super sophisticated, there's no room for that in our lives right now. Set up the simplest solution. It's usually the best one. And if you want to add some super slick bells and whistles later, go for it. But don't let the Taj Mahal vision, and I can't do anything until I can do the Mona Lisa of peer-to-peer programs, don't let that stop you. You have to start, you have to try, because this is where our world is right now, our fundraising world. Okay, Randy, that's my didactics for today.
All right.
I would love to take questions and comments.
As I told you at the beginning, I took notes.
Yay!
I want to do. All right, so let's see. Let's go with the ever-present question. What's up with Facebook right now as far as providing donor names to fundraisers that you hold?
So Facebook will eventually give you some donor data, because for you to record that gift, you need a little bit. There is a transaction report that you can get. It's sort of buried in Facebook. And Randy, what I can do after this webinar is send you the link to that, how to get that page for the transaction reports. So what I would say is, if you feel like you're not getting enough data, maybe the data that you're getting from Network for Good, if that's the payment processor, that's who's depositing the money, you know that comes late. So for birthday fundraisers on Facebook specifically, I might, if you've got a volunteer or an intern or somebody who is has some time, I might have someone monitor who is saying on Randy's Facebook page that they just donated. And I might jot that name down. I might see if I can find information about them. That's sort of the manual way to do it. And unfortunately, Facebook, as I just said, can change anything at any moment. So if you're leery of really building a big program in there, because Instagram is owned by Facebook, and literally, I think last week, they just said, we're going to do peer-to-peer fundraising, birthday fundraising on Instagram. I don't think it's going away anytime soon, because they're rolling it out to other platforms that they own, like Instagram. So I'm not worried that it's going to go away immediately. It could change. It could morph into something that's not a great fit for you. So make hay while the sun shines. But Randy, I've just made a note that I'll send you that link to how to find that transaction report.
Great. That's another way to engage the person that started the birthday fundraiser, is just, you know, if you can't find information, maybe ask them to help you. How well do you know this person? Would you be willing to provide me with an email so that I can personally thank them too?
I want to thank them. Yeah, excellent idea.
Let's see. What about offline fundraiser, P2P fundraisers that don't use social media. Any thoughts around that?
Yeah, so if we take social media fundraising out of the game, virtual peer-to-peer fundraising usually always has a digital aspect to it. So someone is going to need tools. You're going to need to set up a page generally. You're going to need to be able to message people and direct those people to a donation form. So if it's completely offline, then what's probably happening, and you can think about big events like marathons and stuff for this. If you've ever run an in real life peer-to-peer fundraising event, you know that participants show up with checks from back in the day when we used to all work in an office together, or we'd all go to PTA together, or to worship together. So I would collect checks from people who weren't going to go on my page and make a gift online, and then I would actually hand those off to the organization on race day. What you may want to do, and again, think internally with your CFO or your accountant about this, is you certainly could have somebody do like a lemonade stand fundraiser offline, and they collect $1 for every cup of lemonade they sell in their neighborhood. And then probably mom or someone is going to write a check for that $30 that the kid raised in this example. So if you want to go that route, you might want to have a special type of event that's like a neighborhood event or something like that, with specific instructions for the family and for mom what to do with the funds that they raise on your behalf. So if you run a lemonade stand for us, mail the one check to this address and make it payable to this name, and we want your contact information, mom, so that we can confirm that we received that donation and can send you and your family a thank you note. That's the route that I would take for non-digital peer-to-peer fundraising.
Speaking of thank yous, someone's asking, is an email thank you good enough when someone donates in an online platform?
I say yes, it is. And I know depending on the amount, some organizations will, if it's like over $100 or hits a threshold, you also send a printed thank you note that maybe somebody signs. The deal is in the content. So the content should be, as I said, effusive thanks, genuine thanks. So yeah, I think an email autoresponder is great as long as it's not a template, like what your tool, your online fundraising tool came with. Dear first name, thanks for your gift in the amount of, gift amount, we appreciate your support, organization X. You want to personalize that as much as possible. You want to maybe ask them if it's okay on the donation form. Is it okay if we publicize your gift? And that's when you can go off to a social media channel, and Randy gave me permission to be public about the fact that he gave me $50. And so I'm going to go on all my social media channels and try to tag Randy if he's public enough on his accounts. Randy, thank you so, we just got a $75 gift from Randy. It's a first-time gift. Thank you so much. We're going to use your money to do X or Y. So don't limit yourself to email unless you have to or want to, but be really like, what would you want to get? I know we always say we're not our donors, but you may want to actually have a Zoom meeting or a phone call with a donor who's given to you for a while that you could call up and say, we're evaluating our donor thank you materials. Can you help us really level these things up and get some outside perspective about what would be appreciated?
All right, here's an interesting one. There's been some resistance to Facebook for this organization recently because people are boycotting the platform because of the hate speech, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Can you maybe talk a little bit about how you're feeling, what you're getting a sense of around that? Great.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it has to do with the organization's own individual leadership stance about Facebook's values and culture, and how well or not it aligns with your organization's value and culture. I don't think it's going to get easier to land and make a decision. For me, in my work, Facebook is there, it's a tool, and it helps people raise money. And it also speaks mostly to people in our donor age group. So if your supporters skew really young, Facebook isn't the platform for you. You probably want to invest in some Insta, and maybe a little Snapchat, I don't know. But for donors who are between the ages of 35 and 1 million, most of them are on Facebook, especially because we are social distancing. And so I've got family members, who are in their 70s and 80s. My family is, older members of my family are comfortable on Facebook. One of them's been hacked, still is comfortable on Facebook. And so I think there's not a lot of that good versus bad thinking going on amongst our supporters, generally speaking, because we are professionals in fundraising and we think about this differently. It's more alarming to us sometimes than it is to the people that we're trying to reach. And so I think you need to land somewhere internally and at least know why you landed there. If you're going to exclude Facebook, be clear about why, and figure out what you can do instead on other channels to try to, build that pool of participants up. Was that a weenie answer, Randy?
I don't know. I'm sitting here thinking, well, I don't necessarily block anyone, but I certainly don't always read comments if I'm trying to have a good day.
Yeah, it's totally true. It's totally true. But, that's how I found out where I could get toilet paper in April in my town, It was on Facebook. It's taken on a whole new tool of managing the pandemic for a lot of us. And although, yeah, people still get really volatile on that platform in terms of, how tolerant they are of other stances. There are enough large organizations out there using it really well that if you are an advocate and you want to try to convince leadership to try Facebook for the rest of the year, or maybe you just use it a little bit at end of year or something like that. Find examples from other well-known organizations that you can show to your leadership. See, Be the Match is using it. See, World Wildlife Fund is using it. See, Raising a Reader is using it. Making those organizations up, they exist. But what I would say is find examples that are like you, or that your leadership follows or kind of pays attention to what they're doing, and use that information to facilitate a conversation.
Yeah, one of my COVID wishes was that we would come together. I don't know how we're doing.
Honestly, right? Not too late. It's not too late, folks.
Oh, yeah, that's what it's going to take. I don't know. Let's see. I hope I do justice to this question. It's a little bit layered.
The story.
So
okay.
We have Facebook fund. How do you incorporate Facebook fundraisers if you're using other platforms and you're trying to reach a goal, and Facebook, won't update your other platform automatically, obviously. So I think I have an answer for this, and maybe I'll throw it out and then build on that, because what I would probably do is, in the Facebook world, just continue to post all of the information, like the amalgamated amount, just keep doing that on Facebook. And then if your other platform has a way, I know it's pretty manual, but that might be how you have to do it. I don't know, Maureen, do you have anything on that?
Well, I completely agree. And it's no different than having an online and offline kind of peer-to-peer campaign going. In that check instance that I mentioned a minute ago, you know, you can get checks from participants, and then often in your tool, you can go in there and update, you know, Randy raised 350, not 250, because a check from a participant, or he just mailed me a check, so I can actually record that. There are some integrations. I know if you're a TeamRaiser user, that's a Blackbaud peer-to-peer. It manages all different kinds of peer-to-peer programs. There is an integration between Facebook and TeamRaiser, so you can actually get that supporter gift data, or at least a donation was made back over into your database and your peer-to-peer tool. So I might explore some integrations there.
All right, well, it looks like we are at time. So I really appreciate your time today, Maureen. And like I said, I took some things from this that I'm going to, as you know, this is the time of the year where you're starting to think about 2021 and setting up your fundraising plan. So so this is good information for now. And here's some more information that I see that you've put up. So
a little bit about me and what I do. You can hop over to my website and get a bunch of free resources. And I do Facebook Lives every Friday afternoon at 12:30 Eastern Time, and usually bring an expert on to talk about a nonprofit tech or fundraising or marketing topic. So I'd love to see some of you over there.
oh, I'd love to join you someday. Um,
We
also,
will.
just also, just so you know, nonprofithub.org has a lot of resources as well.
Yep.
We just loaded up a YouTube channel, so check that out. And as we were talking before, Maureen, Cause Camp, which we're taking virtual, will hopefully be in person again in 2021. But keep on, keep an eye out for those things as well. But thank you everyone for your time today. I think it was time well spent. Maureen, go out and hit the beach now. You've done your work. I give you permission.
Thank you, Randy. It was such a pleasure. Thanks, everybody. I hope this was useful. And Randy, I'll be in touch with that transaction report link, and I'm happy to send a copy of the deck as well, too.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Okay, see everybody later. Have a good rest of your day. Bye, folks.